Pet Life Radio.
This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
Hello, cat lovers, feline friends. This is Michelle Fern, your host on Cattitude. You know, cats are so hard to read, meaning their mood. What are they thinking? How are they feeling? They're just those kind of creatures. Well, my guest today has a product that can tell you just that, right? How cool. Well, we're going to be right back and talk to her and find out all about it. We'll be right back. Hey guys, Michelle Fern here. I want to tell you about Carlson Pet Products. They're a family-owned, budget-conscious company specializing in creating pet safety products to keep your pet happily protected from puppy through senior years. They have some great products: pet pens, folded elevated beds, crates, and pet gates. Their pet gates fit any size opening in your home. Most gates have a walk-through door for humans and a small door for your pet to go through. I've had a Carlson pet gate in my home for years and absolutely love it. And best of all, you're going to get 25% off and free shipping. Just visit carlsonpetproducts.com. And again, you'll get 25% off your order plus free shipping with the promo code PETLIFE.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back, everyone. I'd like to introduce Sajna Massey. She is from Sylvester.ai. Welcome, Sajna. Am I saying that right?
Yes, it's Sajna. You're saying it right, Michelle. Thank you so much for having me today.
Well, I'm thrilled to have you. Now, let's talk about this. So you and your company designed an app called Tably, and it tells what a cat is feeling. What led up to this? What made you guys decide, this is something we need to explore? There must have been several cat lovers in the group.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Sylvester.ai as a company, we are committed to, advancing animal health general through the use of artificial intelligence. And the reason we chose cats for our, very first app is because, like you mentioned, cats are so stoic. They are so hard to read. They are so great at hiding their pain. And, they're not as expressive as, say the way dogs are, which leads to a lot of cats not getting regular veterinary care. So really our mission and our goal was to, help cat parents understand their cats better and hopefully reduce, cat suffering and improve feline health.
That's a great idea. And you're right. Cats are very hard to read. Not only are they hard to read, they tend to hide their pain, which adds another challenge. So did anybody have experience with this when you guys, did anyone go through something traumatic, unfortunately, that led up to this idea to create this app?
Yeah, well, the way the app started is, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the organization called Cat Healthy, but they're a non-for-profit organization, and their mission is also to advance the field of feline health. And so they approached, one of our parent companies is an artificial intelligence company, and they approached us saying, how could we use this really cutting edge technology to help cats? So that's really how the idea started.
Okay. Do you yourself have cats?
Right now, I don't have any cats. I think I'm the only person on our team without a cat, unfortunately.
Okay, let's talk about your product is called Tably.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I love the idea of using artificial intelligence for, to reduce pain and suffering with cats and more. I think the more that we use artificial intelligence, the better. We need to have sometimes, old school things, but I love technology and I love everything it does because I think it's just made things better, especially for, the feline world and canine world, all animals. So let's talk. How does Tably work?
Yeah, so Tably uses a type of artificial intelligence called machine learning, which is really the idea of getting a computer to operate without being explicitly programmed. I won't get too technical on you, but there's a subset of machine learning called computer vision, and which is basically automating the task of human vision. And so the way Tably works is we leverage computer vision to read your cat's subtle facial cues and compare them to a validated medical study called the Feline Grimace Scale to decipher how they're feeling. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Grimace Scale, but it's a validated medical study that has actually identified 5 facial indicators that can detect pain, really. So ear positioning, eye positioning, muzzle positioning, all of these different really small facial cues can actually indicate how your cat's feeling. And, if you think about a human, when we're in pain, we might crinkle our eyes and crinkle our nose and hunch forward and kind of close our body in. And in cats, it's much more subtle, but it is actually a behavioral trait that's there.
I only have 2 cues on my cat that I could understand. And this is Dennis. Molly, forget it. She just always looks like she's ready to bite your head off. And she just has that kind of look. Her eyes are like slanted and green and she just has that evil eye look, even though she's kind of a sweet cat. Dennis makes big eyes. I can't tell any other facial cues. So I did a little research. I do understand about the Feline Grimace Scale, but could you tell any of these things without your app, or is it that subtle that you really need the app to see this?
So you are able to, do the assessment in real life. Like many vets use this tool in the clinic. The only, issue with that is typically cats are kind of already distressed when they get to the vet's office. No cats like going to the vet. And, some vet clinics will actually print off the Feline Grimace Scale guide to give to cat parents to take home. But it's so much easier to just do simply with an app, right? We all love taking photos of our cats all day. So this is just one way that you can actually translate that cat into how they're doing.
Okay, well, we're going to take a short break and we're going to come back and we're going to talk about how it actually works. We'll be right back. Hey everyone, Michelle Fern here, your host on Best Bets for Pets and Cattitude. Ben and Jerry's has frozen treats for dogs. I know Nikki is going to love this. He loves a frozen treat. They have 2 different flavors. One is Punch's Mix, which is peanut butter and pretzel, and the other one is Rosie's Batch, which is pumpkin and mini cookies. I kind of like both of those flavors too, but my absolute favorite is fish food. Anything Ben & Jerry's is always fabulous because the quality is so good and their mixes are so delicious. Be sure to check out more about these frozen dog desserts as well as pictures of all the caniners at the Ben & Jerry's Vermont office at benjerry.com. That's BENJERRY.com.
Let's talk pets
Let's talk pets
on Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back, everyone. We're talking to Sajna Massey from Sylvester.ai and talking about her app called Tably. So how does it work? We've talked about the need for it because you do need to understand what your cat's feeling. My guess is the more you use Tably, the better you get at understanding your cat. But this is a good guide. So how does it work?
So the app today is available in the App Store, and you download it and you will hover your camera over your cat's face. So we use a function called Live View, which basically means this video function is taking many, many, many photos in a span of just a few seconds. And then you'll really get the result almost instantly. It takes just a few seconds for our algorithm to compare the photo to the Grimace scale and give you a result. And so there's, kind of 2 main categories that the app communicates today, and we call it content and discontent. And so you'll actually receive that rating on your phone. And then if your cat does come back discontent, it's important to continue to monitor it because one, it could be discontent simply because of its mood, or two, that could actually indicate some sort of medical issue. As an example, one of our developers, when we were creating the app, he had looked at pictures of cats all day, every day as he was building this thing. And he'd never had a pet before, but after looking at cats all day, went out and adopted a cat. And, the cat's name was Hobbs, and it was really, really helpful in our research and great at posing for pictures. And one day, our developer realized that the cat was coming back as unhappy. And so he tracked the cat for a few days, and the model became increasingly confident that the cat was unwell. And so he booked an appointment for the vet, took Hobbs to the vet, and Hobbs had ear mites. And for a new cat owner, it would be really quite difficult for, them to realize a cat had ear mites until they were so visibly in distress and scratching at their ears, perhaps till their ears were bleeding. And, Hobbs was actually able to get to the vet in advance of the ear mites advancing. And we were able to, save him a bit of discomfort that way. And then he got his medication, and just a few days later, he was coming back as happy again.
So what I'm getting is what Tably, the advantages of Tably is that it can sense your cat's behaviors a little earlier, maybe a lot earlier in some cats than you would as a human, which could make the difference between, like you mentioned, ear mites, from just ear mites to a full-blown infection, which can happen with ear mites if it's intense enough and they're scratching enough. So that's what I'm seeing as one of the big advantages, because it can catch, whatever the discontent is, it can catch that a little earlier than you would as a human.
Exactly. And it's really interesting because, with our developer, he was a brand new cat parent, but we find even for cat parents that have had cats all their lives and have had multiple cats are seeing some benefit from the app as well. I'm not sure if you know Rita and Linda from 19 Cats and Counting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so Linda was actually one of our prototype users for the app. And I think she has 11 cats in her household. And
I cannot believe that. 11 is major.
I think
major cat lover.
Rita has 20, so
I know.
Linda. But yeah, so Linda was actually one of our prototype users, and she was using the app on all her cats. Most of them came back happy. And then she has a cat named Kismet, and Kismet was continually reading discontent. And she, tracked him, I think, over a day or so, a couple times, tried the reading, and it was continually coming back as negative. And so she booked a vet appointment in the morning, and Kismet has FIV, so he's already immunocompromised. So, a very fragile health state to begin with. And the vet discovered that the cat was so severely dehydrated that they said, even a couple days later could have really had some detrimental outcomes. And it was in desperate need of sub-Q fluids, and they put it on an IV. It was pretty crazy because, I think at first we had always thought it would be really helpful for new cat parents, but really it's helpful for lots of different types of pet owners.
As you're talking about it, Tably, I'm thinking, and kind of a devil's advocate here, but just thinking what it brings to mind is, those litters that when you use and they can turn colors when the cat urinates.
Mm-hmm.
But here's where I think yours has a huge advantage. So the litters, that there's several brands, and when the cat urinates, it turns a color, which could mean something health-wise. However, there's a lot of other things that can happen to a cat that are not caught just by the cat urinating. So, because you're both, even though you're on huge different ends of the spectrum, both of your products are tools to understand what a cat is from their behavior, how their health is, ultimately. But I see Tably as being much more of an advantage because there's many things that happen. I think also it catches whatever the ultimate problem is way early, as opposed to, the litters and things like that. What's your opinion on that? Because you might have people say, oh, it's probably like that, because when you think of something new, you think of what's similar to that. So that's where I'm coming from. But what would you say to someone who was thinking, well, it's kind of like that, but not really? But I think there's a big advantage to Tably over the litters.
The really interesting thing about the technology that powers Tably is that it continues to get more effective as more people continue to use it because it's based off of machine learning. And so, today where we are with Tably is that we can tell you if your cat's content or discontent. Now, over time, and this is absolutely a hypothesis and not something that we've, proved quite yet, but are there facial cues that we could pick up on that are actually tied to a specific medical condition? As an example, is there a certain way cats hold their ears when they have ear mites? And so that's really, where we hope to go one day, is to be able to actually never diagnose, but perhaps suggest different medical complications that could be suggested by the different types of facial cues. So yeah, it's interesting with machine learning that, this is only the beginning, and the project could go in so many different directions depending on what data we have and where we could take it.
And now, in listening to you, it reminds me of something called Base Paws. Are you familiar with them?
Yes, I actually just connected with them for the first time last week, I think it was. They are doing amazing, amazing work. Their genetic analysis is so innovative and so incredible. And I know they're coming out with a new dental kit product. And yeah, I love what they're doing.
I had them on Cattitude way back, and they were analyzing so many different cats to just get to the spot to where they had so much data, as you had mentioned, so that they would be able to, continually fine tune their product. So you're available now on the Apple Store. What about, is Android coming soon?
Yeah, we will be releasing an Android version eventually, probably in the next couple months. Right now, what we're actually building out, we have kind of two versions of Tably. One is the version that you can download in the App Store, and we also have a version for vets. And the way vets are using the tool is, say a cat goes in for a dental surgery, and the vet will actually, kind of prescribe the app to a cat owner and say, okay, for the next 7 days, 3 times a day, I want you to check in on your cat's well-being. And then they can actually see how the cat is recovering after that surgery. Because a lot of vets will say that they don't really get a lot of insight as to, after a patient might leave for a really major surgery, well, how are they doing? Sometimes they make follow-up phone calls. Oftentimes those, calls go to voicemail. The voicemails don't get returned. And they really want to know, of course, that their patient is okay and it's recovering okay. And they often say to us, well, even if we were to chat with the cat parent, their assumption is going to be that the cat is doing okay because they are so great at hiding pain. So we've actually been using this tool as a remote patient monitoring tool to, help vets and help cat owners. So yeah, that version will be out next week, and then we'll be working on the Android version thereafter.
I think the vet version is great because I'm familiar with, more so with my, I have a cat crew and have a dog crew, and I'm familiar with, doggy dentals and getting a text back, how's your dog doing? But, dogs you can read. You can tell if they're just lethargic or whatever, if they're happy and with a wagging tail, the whole thing. Cats, they come near you, they sit, they sleep, they do their own thing. They're like, don't mess with me. That's just how they are. So that's a great tool. And I'm sure you're also probably with, all the data you're getting, constantly updating the vet version as well.
That will definitely be the next step. We prototyped our vet version for probably about 4 months before we're releasing the final version. So yeah, we're all about, continuous improvement and making sure that the model is as accurate as it can be.
Okay. And then I have a question. It might be a little unusual, but how do you think Tably can work with one of the kind of new things that's going on now, which is telemedicine, especially since we're almost kind of out of this pandemic, but we're still in it. So how do you think it can work with telemedicine?
I mean, the really interesting application for telemedicine is that, well, there's kind of two. The first one would be to actually triage patients. So, if you have a backlog, a really long wait time of patients on your telehealth platform, it could be a tool to, prioritize who needs to be seen first and who needs to be prioritized. And then the second application is, of course, just to use it as intended, but from home. Because if you take a cat into a vet, they might use the Feline Grimace scale to assess well-being and to assess pain. But of course, if you're at a telehealth appointment, it can be really quite difficult for, to get your cat to stay still long enough for the vet to do that assessment. And so this way we have a tool that you can, do that really easily from the comfort of your own home.
Right. And you can also do it ahead of time prior to contacting, a vet on telemedicine as well.
Mm-hmm, exactly. It's really quite interesting because, almost every vet that we talk to kind of comes up with a different use case. Like we had a vet we chatted with and who was part of our prototype testing. And she said, I don't do a ton of surgery, but the way I use it the most is to aid in end of life decision making. So what she was saying is that, of course, that is an incredibly difficult decision for a cat owner to make. Cats become, like part of the family. And she said that there's always this fear of letting go too soon. And of course, not letting go soon enough. You don't want the cat to be suffering unnecessarily. And so she'll actually use the app to give to cat parents for, say, 2 weeks, and they monitor the well-being over 2 weeks. And it kind of gives you that peace of mind to say, okay, if my cat is having way more bad days than good days, or perhaps only bad days, it might be time to let go.
I recently went, well, not so recently, but it feels recently through that, but with a dog in August. And he actually ended up passing away, so I didn't have to make that decision, but it was difficult. So I can see where that could really come into play and really be handy, especially for, of course, the pet parent, because you have so much guilt.
Absolutely. And, I think with cats, there's kind of because cats don't go to the vet as often as dogs, I think even for vets, it's extra difficult for them to have those conversations with cat parents because they don't build, the same relationships and level of trust, since cats typically don't go in for an annual visit.
Very true. So let's remind everybody else. It's called Tably, and it's on the Apple Store, soon to be on Google Play. And updates, how often are updates, would you say?
Probably every month or so. The best way to kind of stay updated with us would be to follow us on social media. So on Instagram, we are at Sylvester_tech. And then on Facebook, you can find us just Sylvester.ai.
Okay, Sajna, thank you so much for coming on Cattitude and telling everybody about Tably and all of the wonderful things that Sylvester.ai is doing with artificial intelligence in the world of felines.
Thank you so much for having us, Michelle. It was great to talk to you.
What an interesting show. It just goes to show what artificial intelligence can do for our furry pets, right? I want to thank my crew, which is Charlotte, Molly, and Dennis. The inside crew are the ones that tested Tably. And for the most part, they were content. So I'm happy. I'm happy, a happy cat parent. Thanks to my guest for coming on Cattitude. Thanks, of course, to everyone listening to Cattitude, making us one of the most popular cat podcasts out there. Thank you so much. And thanks to my amazing producer, Mark Winter, for making me and my guests sound amazing. And remember, lose the attitude, have Cattitude. See you next time.
Let's Talk Pets, every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.